Welcome back to Luxury Cruising. I'm your host, Krystal Sodaitis, and today we have Fred here. And Fred has a ton of experience sailing in suite class on Royal Caribbean. And we were just chatting before I even hit record. I was like, we have to hit record. This is all so good, so interesting. So, Fred, please tell the audience anything you would like them to know about you.
Wow, that's a loaded question. My name is Fred, and I'm addicted to cruising. Um, I'd say probably my wife and I have been cruising since 2005. We've sailed on Carnival, Disney, and Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean being the most. We love cruising. On average, we do between maybe 2 or 3 cruises a year if we can. This year we're on target for 3, which would be nice. We've taken our kids on ships. In fact, when our kids were younger, funny story I always told everybody is that, we used to go on Disney cruise lines a lot, because they were younger and they wanted that experience. And living through your children's eyes on Disney cruises is
Yeah.
really an awesome experience. And Disney does do it like really probably nobody does. So everybody was wondering, like, is it really worth it? I would say yes. So anyway, they got to an age where we said, look, you can either go for 5 nights on a Disney cruise or 9 nights on Royal. And they were like, we'll take 9 nights. That's kind of like where it's been going from there. Kids make cruising very expensive. So my wife and I
Yeah.
have been leaving them now that they're adults. But anyway, I'm a technology nerd. I've worked in telecommunications most of my life, my career. And I guess that's pretty much all I can say about myself.
Well, awesome. Most recently, you were on Symphony of the Seas in a Crown Loft Suite. Yeah, I asked that like 3 times. The Crown Loft Suite. So, what made you decide to book this suite on this ship?
Okay, so that's a good question. My wife and I, a few years ago, went to Europe for the first time in our lives together. And we happened to board Symphony when she came out of dry dock. She
Yeah.
came right from dry dock, and we were doing a Mediterranean cruise, a 7 night cruise on her. And it was one of my favorite Oasis class ships. However, that cruise was so busy. We walked, our Apple Watches logged probably 65 miles that 7 days that we walked.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
and yeah,
It's a
okay.
lot of
So
walking.
we really didn't get to explore the ship. Cool little tidbit: when we checked in, we were able to go straight to our cabin, which was pretty cool because like you're not allowed to do that normally, right?
Yeah.
But because it was coming out of dry dock, there were no guests on board. Previously,
Oh,
you were able to literally check in at like we got on the ship at like 10:30 in the morning, and we went straight to our cabin, which was really neat.
awesome. Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. And was it a suite or just like a regular room at that point?
We were in a grand suite for that cruise. We were pretty much celebrating, our anniversary, so we
Yeah.
kind of plussed it up, and it was nice. Although, again, because it was such a busy cruise, I don't think we even got to use the room as much as we would like to.
Yeah. So, what's the difference between the two suites?
So, there's a big difference. A one-bedroom grand suite is going to have actually a pretty big suite. I thought for the one-bedroom grand. I like that there's like, even though your bedroom and your living room are kind of like connected together in a very open manner, it's still kind of separated. And
Mhm.
your bathroom is huge. Big perk is my wife likes to take a bath. So, suites having a bathtub, that's a big perk for us. And it was a huge bathroom. I love having the extra space. My wife and I do like to spend a lot of time in our cabin when we cruise. We like to relax. We like the plus size balconies where you can actually lay down, not just sit, with a small table. One of the draws for us about doing a Crown Loft was we got a pretty good deal on it,
Mhm.
and my mother-in-law was coming, and we wanted to have a little bit of separation. We'd never stayed in a Crown Loft, and I figured, my mother-in-law could stay downstairs and my wife and I would stay up in the loft, and that would be great. One of the biggest differences would be that you have 2 bathrooms instead of one.
For a family, especially us, that's key. The 2 bathrooms is key.
I mean, you have to, right? What are you going to do? Go up and down the stairs every time you need to use the bathroom? I don't think it
Yeah.
happens. And believe me, number one thing that I hated about the Crown Loft after the first day was going up and down the
The
stairs.
stairs. Yeah.
Every time you forget something upstairs or you need to run back up there to grab something, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. You're definitely getting your steps in for the day. Um,
Yeah. I always thought with those, they should design them so that if you wanted to, there should be a door on the floor above so that you could go in no matter what floor let's say it's decks 10 and 11. So that if you wanted to, you could get off on deck 10 and go in through the front door and in the base. But also, if you wanted to, you could get off on deck 11 and then just go in through the top room. But I'm not designing
So
cruise ships.
so in this case though, I think the only Crown Lofts are actually on 17. You're literally on the 18th floor when you're at the top of your Crown Loft. And obviously there I laid into the biggest difference to me was you're in a closed in neighborhood. The deck 17 on Oasis class ships, the glass doors are usually closed. You need to have a key to get access to the floor. So you don't have a lot of loud noise going on outside of your room.
Mm-hmm.
And then your biggest perk for me was you're on the same deck as Coastal Kitchen and the Suite Lounge. So you literally get ready at night, you go over to the Suite Lounge, you hang out with the bartenders, you have a few drinks, and then, you literally just scoot on over into Coastal Kitchen to have dinner. I loved being in that environment where everything's on the same floor. Whereas like we've been in a 1 bedroom grand suite on Quantum and Quantum Plus class ships. I've been on Anthem 5 times, and I think 3 of those we were in a 1 bedroom grand. On Quantum ships, the suite lounge is all the way at the back of the ship, and you have to go from the suite lounge to go to Coastal Kitchen. You have to leave like deck 12, go to all the way up to the aft elevators, and it's a long walk.
Yeah.
Especially if you've had a few drinks, and that's the whole idea, right, of the happy hour.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so you get that long walk, you jump in the elevator, go up a few decks just to get to Coastal Kitchen, which is right outside the Windjammer. So
Yeah, that's true on Anthem. And is that also on Odyssey that the Coastal Kitchen is right outside the Windjammer? So
yes.
that's really interesting. Let's just pause for a second because you may have a better sense of the evolution of the suite neighborhood based on class. Now, does Symphony have that sort of ship within a ship suite neighborhood concept? Because in my mind, that's really started with Wonder.
Symphony, Oasis class. I thought Oasis class also has it, or all deck 17 is the suite neighborhood. So, I mean, we haven't done it on Oasis yet, but we've done a suite on Symphony,
I don't
Allure.
think so because when we were on Symphony, so we had a 2 bedroom aqua theater suite. And those are all the way in the back where the aqua theater is. We weren't anywhere close to Coastal Kitchen or the Suite Lounge, which there it's basically, I mean, they're basically connected. And then I'm also trying to think the suite deck were not contiguous. Like I feel like, I've never had a Sky or Star class suite on Wonder or above. And so I'm just wondering, like I know now, like there's a suite neighborhood where everybody's all together. And the suite deck is there, the Coastal Kitchen is there, the Grove is there if you're on, an Icon class ship. I don't know if Utopia has a Grove.
I can tell you that none of the ships I've been on have a suite sun deck and a suites neighborhood or area that are connected. Like, for example, all of the Oasis class ships have a suite sun deck, but it's like deck 16 forward or something. So you have to go from, deck 15, your activities deck, pool deck, and you just take like a circular flight of stairs up. In fact, there's not even an elevator that goes up. You have to take the circular flight of stairs. I think Royal Caribbean is under a lot of pressure because you have Virgin, you have, Norwegian. Norwegian, I've heard, is doing phenomenal things, with their sweet neighborhood. And
Mm-hmm.
also, honestly, MSC. I've heard a
Yacht
lot of
Club.
people have done MSC and love the yacht club.
Yeah.
So I don't think Royal has a choice other than to try to tighten it up. And we've wanted to try Virgin for a long time. My wife and I love kids. Don't get me wrong. I'm a
Yeah.
dad. I have 2 daughters. They're 24 and 20. But I think I'm at a stage in my life where I'm good with not having loud kids running around all the time. Um, or at least trying to minimize that. And then having
Yeah.
those secluded neighborhoods where it's only for certain guests, you're minimizing those chances. And I really like that. There's more of a sense of privacy. You know, you could probably get a lounge chair by the pool without having to fight over it,
Yeah.
which, you know, that's just everybody, every cruise line, no matter what. So I like that. I think they're under pressure to try to step up, and I think they've been doing a good job of that. In fact, didn't they just recently, after the last incident where the person jumped over the side of the infinity pool, I think Royal finally said that it's an adults only pool now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an adults only pool, and then they made the swim and tonic adults only because people were complaining. Like the kids are just like splashing around and, in their drinks and taking up the stools. People, kids taking up the stools that aren't sitting there drinking, or they're having, like grabbing a Coke and then going to swim. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I
I
mean,
think
that's
that
essential.
having a secluded space where, if you're paying for an elevated experience, that includes when you're outside and, enjoying the pool.
Yeah, and then like if you remember, have you been on DCL
I've
before? I'm
never been on
sure.
DCL. No.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
so Disney has a really great concept. They close off the front of the ship after like 7 o'clock or something at night to adults only. So
Wow.
like they turn the whole front of the ship into like nightclubs and everything like that, and it's all adults only. You have to be an adult to go there. I mean, think about it, right? They built the whole ship for kids. There's
Yeah.
entire decks and entire features that are all based around kids. So at some point, parents need to be able to let go. Why have all these kids clubs if you're going to only be able to,
Right.
you know,
Also, because of the price point, they want to attract, other adults that have the money to spend on a Disney cruise line.
and I'm
And
not
and
going to
not
lie, when I go ahead.
have them be able to have an experience where they're not drowning in kids. Look, I've said it before on this podcast. I'm a pediatrician. I love kids, but that doesn't mean I wanna be surrounded by them all the time.
That's right. And there has to be a fine line, especially to me, at least on Icon class ships. I haven't been on Icon class ships, but I remember when I first saw the drawings and the sketches coming out, I'm like, wow, Royal Caribbean just shot like shots over the bow for Disney. They are
Yeah.
going after that family cruise line feel. They want the kids, they want all of the people that would normally go on Disney and will pay to go on Disney because, you know, Icon class demands a higher rate also. I'm not lying. When we first switched away from DCL, you could literally sail 9 nights on Royal versus 5 nights on Disney, and that still stands. I'm pretty sure,
On
as far
some,
as a
oh, yeah,
comparison.
absolutely. And it doesn't have to be, Rhapsody of the Seas. You can get, Allure of the Seas, Odyssey of the Seas for a very decent price for 7 nights.
That's right. We scored a phenomenal rate like 6 or 7 years ago when my kids graduated from high school and college together the same year. We went on Allure in a 2 bedroom grand suite, and we're spoiled silly with all the space. A 2 bedroom
Yeah.
grand on Allure is beautiful. One of my favorite rooms I've ever been in. If you want to have a lot of space.
Tell us about that suite. What is that suite like?
So it's actually uncomparable, right? So you think about the 1 bedroom grand, and then you think about taking that, adding an extra closet size bedroom with no windows, right? With two twins, barely twins in it, right? My daughters took that room. My wife and I obviously had the master. And then you have a really nice living area, huge balcony, big, big, big balcony that stretches, and it's also wide. So, and it had a hot tub. So,
Oh, always nice. Yeah.
only 4 cabins on that ship have a jacuzzi on the balcony, and we were one of them. You have to be, I think it was deck 12. I'm almost positive it was deck 12. You have to be on deck 12, and there's only 4 cabins that have jacuzzis. Um, so that was a kind of neat perk, right? To be sitting in a jacuzzi on a balcony and looking out over the ocean. Pretty wild.
Oh, and
But
again, you're not like fighting with other people's kids who are snorkeling in the hot tub.
that's right. Yep. And then the other big perk, again, which I also liked about the Crown Loft, but without kids. With kids, 2 bathrooms is a must. Like you need to have it. And these
I
are
have 2
two
daughters
full
too,
baths.
so I feel you with the 2 bathrooms.
Two full baths. Everybody has their space. Everybody can still get ready without fighting or screaming or yelling, and getting ready in time for dinner without, hurrying up or anything like that. That's a wonderful experience for that for me. So I think my kids would say that they slept the best in that room because when you closed the door, it was pitch black in there. You
Yeah.
couldn't tell
Yeah.
what time it was or anything. We had to actually a couple times go in there, open the door, and like say, "Hello, it's like 11 o'clock. Are you guys
Yeah.
gonna get out of bed?"
Yeah. Like an inside stateroom, but even smaller, but even cozier.
Oh well, yeah. If I had to guess, it might have been even smaller than an inside stateroom. That's why I call it an oversized closet because it was definitely tiny. But look, again, all they were doing is sleeping in there. We had a big living room, we had our balcony, it wasn't really like a place that you were going to spend time in unless you wanted to sleep or take a nap or something.
Yeah. Now, before we hit record, you were saying you actually really like spending time in your stateroom. So tell me, what is it about a suite that makes that stateroom time experience so much nicer?
I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is I love having the extra space. I do like my wife and I both when we tell people what cruising is like, we say there's so much to do or not to do. It's
Mhm.
up to you. And we like to keep like mildly busy, but your whole life, you work on a 52 weeks a year, and you're just always on the go. We like to actually unwind. So there would be days where we'll just spend the whole day in our cabin and we'll read a book, or I'll sit on the balcony and I'll listen to some music, or just stare at the ocean or take pictures. I like taking pictures a lot. So to me, if you're going to spend a lot of time in the cabin, it's absolutely worth getting a suite. But that segues into the perks, right?
Mhm.
Besides the fact that you get priority boarding, priority disembarkation, you also have uh, the access to Coastal Kitchen, the suites only restaurant, which is a huge driver. Well, it was better before, but it's a huge driver
Yeah.
even to this day for us. And then also the suite lounge, and then being able to, like, if you're in sky class, and the grand suites and above are all sky class, at least sky class. We've never done star class. My wife and I don't really think we would get the benefit of paying all the extra money to have
Mhm.
unlimited dining, unlimited drinking. Um, Especially, and I tell everybody this, if you're thinking that you want to do a lot of drinking and you're thinking about the drink package, I'm telling you to look into the price of a suite. Factor in the cost of your
Yeah.
drink package for the cruise. It's going to be at least, $300-400 a person.
Yep.
So take that $800, apply it towards like a sky class suite, because when you want to go in, especially on an Oasis class ship, you could go into the suite lounge between 11 and 11 and pretty much get anything you want to drink.
So in Sky Class, is your drink package included, or how does that work? Piece that out for me
No,
because I need clarification.
so the biggest perks really is you get free internet for everybody that's in the cabin. You do not get unlimited dining, and you do not get unlimited drink package, which is basically two of the most expensive pieces of what Star Class brings you.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't get a genie. Every suite guest still has the ability to get priority seating. Actually, maybe not C class. I might not be straight on that, but
No,
Sky
not C
Class,
Class, but Sky Class, yeah.
yeah, you would definitely be able to get priority seating at all venues, which basically means show up about a half an hour before the show time, and you get to be able to go in. They have a reserved area where you can have a great view no matter what. And this is great for ice shows,
Mhm.
um, because they
Aqua
put you like
shows.
right in the front row. Aqua shows, perfect seating, right dead center. Um, on Oasis class lately, they've been putting you upstairs on the second level.
Mm.
Um, which I'm not a fan of. It used to be that Sky and Star Class used to get the first like 3 to 5 rows in the theater. This time they were telling us that we have to go upstairs unless we're Star Class. And, you know, I think what we
Yeah,
did
like
was we just tried to go in a little early if we could and try to rush down and get better seating up front.
yeah. But are you saying though in the suite lounge from 11 to 11, you can get free drinks even though you don't have a drink package?
That's right. Yeah. So on Oasis class ships, not Quantum class, even though you
Mm.
need like we're talking about Royal Suite class ships, which are Quantum class and Oasis class. On
Yeah.
Oasis class ships, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., you can get beer, wine, or soda all day. And then they have a happy hour at like 5 o'clock till 7, 5 to 7 or 5 to 8. I might be off on that. And there you can get pretty much anything you want, any mixed drinks, whatever,
Yeah.
all included. So think about that, right? If you spend $800 on a drink package, apply that to a suite, you get the
Yeah.
upgraded experience. You get the suite lounge, which is only for suite guests. You get Coastal Kitchen, which is only for suite guests, and Pinnacle. So those are big, big perks
Yeah.
right there that come with the Sky Class and above.
When you are in Sky Class in that beautiful room, since you love to be in your stateroom so much, I know with Star Class, you can have meals delivered to your stateroom from any of the restaurants. Could you, if you wanted to, have Coastal Kitchen or something else delivered to your stateroom?
No, unfortunately, that is for Star Class only. Sky Class does let you order from the main dining room menu and have that delivered to your room. We've done that twice in the past, and it's a incredibly long wait, and the
Yeah.
food is always coming
Yeah.
mildly warm or probably cold, and there's no way to heat it. It's not like you could say, no problem, I'll throw it in the microwave. You don't have a microwave.
Yeah.
So we stopped doing that. I will say this, though. Within reason, the concierges and the people in the suite lounge will go so far above and beyond to try to do things within reason to make your experience magical. It just doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I would say. I don't want to give examples because, I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I just know for a fact having access, that's another really, really big perk. And I should have started with that. Having access to a concierge, I'm talking about a suite concierge. These teams will bend over backwards. They will get you impossible to get reservations. On this last cruise, we had a party of 7. My kids were there, their boyfriends were there, my mother-in-law was there. We couldn't book hibachi. I couldn't get
Yeah.
any nights for a party of 7. It's pretty much the whole table. I talked to my concierge, and before we even boarded, she was able to make arrangements to get us a party of 7 reservation. So really, really beneficial if you don't want to have to be the one that's always hunting for dining reservations and everything like that. Just talk to your concierge. They also email you a week before you board, so
Yeah.
you can give them all of what you're looking for, any special treatment you might need. Like, I sleep with a CPAP machine. I tell them that I need to have distilled water and an extension cord, and they arrange to have all of that in the stateroom for you when you arrive.
Yeah.
You could ask for a fan. You could ask for a pillow topper if you want a softer mattress or a sleeping experience. The concierges will do a lot for you to make your experience plus.
The suite concierge really is there to take your experience not just from good to great, but from great to phenomenal. And again, we were talking before that Royal is really coming up against some of the other lines that have really upped their game too, like Norwegian's Haven, right? MSC's Yacht Club. I mean, in my communities, like people are raving about Yacht Club, and that's their direct competition. So Royal really needs to and has been upping their suite game to compete with those other lines.
It's interesting because I think when we were talking about this, my wife and I are getting to a point where our kids are 24, my daughters are 24 and 20, right? We want to have a little bit more peace and quiet on our cruises, particularly if we're in a suite, right? I don't want to have to fight for area to get a chair or something like that by the pool. I don't want to have kids running around or screaming and yelling with two-way radios and stuff like that. And you're right. As someone who's been loyal to Royal, we're Diamond, probably almost Diamond Plus. We are like 8 points away from Diamond Plus or something. I'm starting to question like where we need to go from here because things have changed a lot. Not necessarily for the better with cruising since we started in 2005. I know that COVID had a lot to do with that and a lot of the changes that were made. I don't agree with all of them. I
Yeah.
think that Royal in particular is taking advantage of some of those concessions that they took during that period and they never brought back, realizing where they could save more money. But that's just me. MSC, I've heard it. MSC Yacht Club is amazing. It's also less expensive in many cases.
Yep.
I've heard the Haven is incredible. thermal suites on the Haven. I heard are incredible, right by the spa. With lots of access to the spa area that you would normally have to pay for. Um, and they're fully enclosed decks where you have to be a suite guest to be able to get on the
Yep.
whole deck. There's a private pool, there's private bars, there's private sun areas, there's private lounges, and I mean, all locked up just for suite guests. And there's no royal ships that have that really. So I think when they're drawing the line between family fun and adult fun, I mean, not even Celebrity is able to say that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
their
I
newest
mean,
ships beyond Apex, and we're thinking about it of Celebrity. But if I'm going to move to Celebrity and I'm not going to get points that are going to build up my royal status, I might as well just try another line.
yeah. Although I would say though, I do like Celebrity. I think that, the retreat, especially on their newer ships, does start to fulfill that sort of ship within a ship, really, isolated, your own restaurant, your own decks kind of requirement. I would definitely wait until you're Diamond Plus. We tried Celebrity twice. Both times we were on Celebrity, we were already Diamond Plus. But the difference was they weren't doing a one-to-one status match the first time. The second time they did a one-to-one status match, and the difference was substantial. I think that the retreat on Celebrity does meet some of those requirements, but I would definitely wait until you're Diamond Plus.
I compare Beyond and Apex probably to be closest to a Quantum Plus ship. You were asking me what are the differences between an Oasis class suite experience versus a Quantum class suite experience. One of the biggest ones is that on Oasis class ships, you have an enclosed suite area. That's where on deck 17, some of the rooms on deck 17, which are like Crown Lofts and up usually, have direct access to the suite lounge on deck 17 and coastal kitchens on deck 17. So you have that nice neighborhood. You don't have to walk a lot to get to where you want to go. Now, if you're in a grand suite on Oasis class, like we were in Allure, we were on deck 12 in our 2-bedroom, you still have to, go to the aft elevators. You have to get on the aft elevators to get up to 17, which is not a big deal. But sometimes we all know getting an
Yeah,
elevator on a ship is not always easy.
especially
Um,
when it's only one. Like you have to be on the aft elevators.
and you know as well as I do, on every sailing, there's always one elevator that's out of service. At
Yes.
least one, right?
Yes.
So Quantum class, the suite experience for Sky class, is that the suite lounge is like on deck, I want to say it's like 12, right? So if you're in a midship room, you have to take an elevator to get to deck 12, go all the way to the back of the ship for the suite lounge. It's literally hidden at the back of a bunch of staterooms. Like you're going to go past 20, 30
Yeah.
staterooms before you finally get there. It's a long walk. So you have your happy hour, you drink a few drinks. Now it's time for dinner. You have to walk all the way back up to the aft elevator, go up to 14, and then go to Coastal Kitchen, which is right outside the Windjammer. Um, Not the same experience
Yeah.
at all. But with that said, I think if I was to say like Coastal Kitchen on Quantum class, you're looking out over the ocean. It's a beautiful view.
True.
Coastal
Yeah.
Kitchen on Symphony or Oasis class, it's still a beautiful view, but you're really looking at the kids' water park area.
Right. It's not
Unless
the
you're all the way out on the wings where you can see the ocean much better.
And on Icon class ships, you're looking at the Aquadome. So sometimes there's a show, but sometimes there's nothing. You're just looking at the Aqua Theater.
What were they thinking?
Yeah, I agree with you. I just find it a little bizarre to be standing outside of Coastal Kitchen, usually very nicely dressed, and people are walking in and out of the Windjammer in shorts on a Quantum and a Quantum Plus class ship. So that to me is a little odd. I do like it when Coastal Kitchen is a little more secluded, but yeah, having that, I mean, I can remember some amazing sunsets sitting in Coastal Kitchen on Anthem, you know.
You touched on something that's really a sticking point. You could see people wearing shorts in Coastal Kitchen
I guess.
these
I had,
days,
yeah, that's
and tank
true.
tops and t-shirts. I think that, like what you were talking about earlier, I think the cruising experience has changed drastically and people call it progress and some people don't recognize it as progress. I'm one of them. Um, I don't like wearing a suit. I'm a pretty big guy. I don't like wearing a suit, and I don't want to be stuffy on vacation, but I wear a polo and slacks and nice shoes to a dinner restaurant where I'm getting 4-course meal, really good wait service. The wait staff are dressed up. I just couldn't wear flip flops and shorts and a polo, or flip
I
flop
agree.
shorts and a t shirt. But it happens more and more. And I know that might come across really snobby, and people are going to be like, oh, yeah, that's really snobby. I'm
No,
not being
I don't.
snobby. I just don't think that. I think
You
the general consensus with people who don't want to dress up for dinner is it's my vacation. You can't tell me how to enjoy it. Well, if you want to go to a fine restaurant that's not on a ship, and you want to eat that food, you're going to have to abide by their dress code. They're not going to say, well, I'm paying for dinner and you're going to have to let me in. They're just not going to let you in.
agree.
um,
It's also my experience. Like my experience is also impacted by seeing you, in your flip-flops and tank tops. I want to preserve that sort of, higher end experience.
That's exactly it. When you think of paying all that money and having fine dining, which people say arguably it's not all fine dining, but even in the main dining room, the architecture is absolutely stunning and beautiful and gorgeous, and everybody's dressed to the nines, and you're walking in there in flip flops and shorts. I get it's vacation. I get that there's island stops, and especially in the Caribbean, but it doesn't kill you to put some slacks and a polo for men and nice shoes, to me. But
I agree.
I try really hard to let everybody do their thing. But you're right. I kind of feel like we've lost that. I think it loses value when people push to take away some of those things.
And hopefully it happens less in coastal kitchen and in the suite areas, but it's bound to. There's always going to be one or two people that are pushing the envelope.
That's
Let
right.
me ask
Yep.
you a couple of questions I ask everyone. And the first, I cannot wait to hear your answer to this one, is how do you define luxury?
If I had to take a stab at that, I would say my definition of luxury is being spoiled rotten. Uh, I don't want to have to lift a finger. I want to know that someone is looking out for me to deal with every little potential problem that I might have, so that I don't have to, so that I can basically, enjoy my vacation worry free. That would probably be the most luxurious way that I can travel.
So when you're in sky class, do you feel that it most of the time meets that definition?
I would say yes, with the caveat that I think everybody should expect that there's nothing perfect in life.
Right.
Shooting for perfection is going to ruin you, right? So uh, I would say that 90% or better of my experience is plus because I'm a Sky Suite guest when I'm cruising with Royal. Um, and then the other 10% of that, 6 or 8% of it is handled by the concierge so that I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to.
Right.
Just think of it here, just another big perk. You don't have to wait in line in guest services.
Right.
The concierge
Right.
can do everything that a guest services attendant can do for you without waiting in line.
Yep.
So
Yes.
again, another perk. How many people can think at how long you walked up to guest services on deck 5 or whatever, and you see like 16, 20 people waiting in line?
Yeah.
You know you're going to be there for 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes for something silly. Concierge just takes all that away from you. And you don't even have to wait to talk to the concierge. Jump on email.
Yep.
You have free internet. Send a quick email to the concierge and say, can you hook me up with this or take care of this for me? And they do it.
Yeah. Or
So
they're
big,
there
big,
while you're
big perk.
having your happy hour. They're there.
Yep.
And you're just like, oh, you're finished with that person? I need your help. And there's fewer people. Again, like you said, there's a concierge in the Crown Lounge, but they could be dealing with 500 people.
Yes. I
Yeah.
can't do half of what a Suite Concierge can do
Yeah.
either. And I have to be honest with you too. My biggest tip to you, if you're thinking about this, is be really good to your concierge. Be really good to your suite lounge attendants, the bar guys. Take good care of them,
Yeah.
because that goes
They'll
a
take care of
long
you.
way. That's
Yeah.
right. Be good to people and they will bend over backwards to help you. Because I see people get snarky and nasty sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's not going to get you as much as
That's
being
a
really
good
kind and nice to someone.
that's a good general philosophy. Do you have a dream cruise?
I do. I see them all the time. I want to go to like Australia. I want to go to Hawaii. I want to go to Fiji. I want to go to like all of those islands on like a 30-day cruise. I don't
Yeah.
think I could do like a world cruise where, you're on a ship for a year or a half a year or 8 months or whatever it is. At some point, it's going to get old and tiring, right?
Yeah.
And then it loses that special kick that we get where every time you board the ship, you still have that invigorated, excited feeling. You walk in
Yeah.
on, and you're like, I'm back, right? After 8 months, I'd be like, I'm ready to get off.
Yeah.
I think that's what I want. And then I guess to go along with that would be to be like a Panamax cruise. I want to go through the Panama canals. I want to see the west coast of Mexico. I've never been to the west coast of Mexico. And rumor alert, I know that there's a lot of discussion about Discovery class ships,
Yes.
and
I
whether or
can't
not
wait
they're
for
going to
Discovery
happen.
class. Yeah, I
I
can't
would
wait.
love that. And I personally think, you heard it here. I have a very good feeling that they might be the first time that Royal tries an adult only or limited children cruise. That's my guess, because I think
Yeah.
that they see the writing on the wall, particularly with Virgin and what other cruise lines are touching on. But let's see. It would be really
Yeah.
cool.
We'll see. What's your other cruise? You say you're looking at 3 this year. You've done 2. What's the third one that you've got scheduled for this year?
So we were on Odyssey for the longest cruise my wife and I ever did in January, at the end of January, early February. That was a 12-night out of Bayonne, and it was amazing. Odyssey is a beautiful ship,
She's gorgeous.
beautiful, beautiful
Yes.
ship. And we were in a junior suite. It was really our second or third experience in a junior suite, first time in C class. And it was good. I can't complain. The room is beautiful, lots of room. So if you could score a junior suite or a Sky Junior, I would recommend it on Odyssey 100%. So we did 12 nights there. Then we just did the 9 nights on Symphony and a Crown Loft. And for December, we're just doing a balcony stateroom for my wife's birthday. So that's
Awesome.
8 nights on Oasis, which has become my favorite ship
Yeah.
by far for many reasons. So that's what the plan is for now. And I think next year we're talking about maybe Alaska. I've been looking at cruises on Ovation, which is basically Odyssey.
Yep. It's a
So
smaller quantum. It's basically like Anthem. We did Alaska on Ovation. It was very nice. It's a carbon copy of Anthem with a different show, but very similar show in 270.
yeah, and so that's what I think I'd like to do. Is I want to do Alaska, I want to do Hawaii. Both are bucket list things for me, plus Panama. So that's kind of what my future holds, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I don't know, you are the administrator of one of the largest Royal Caribbean Facebook groups. I don't know if you want to mention it or not. That's where we met.
I mean, it's not, I don't know if it's the largest. I mean, we have almost 40,000 members. There's definitely bigger groups, but I can say that it's the Royal Caribbean Crown and Anchor Society Lounge. But my moderators and my team, we've gone above and beyond to try to give this a different experience. We are very heavy on making it a cleaner experience. There's no ads, there's no advertising. We remove people who are troublemakers. We shoot for being kind to each other. We're respectful when we ask questions, even if they're repetitive in nature. So if you want to check it out, go take a look, and we'd love to have you.
Yes, because it's not easy to find a kind space online at all. And especially for people who are maybe new to cruising or new to Royal Caribbean, it's nice to have a space where you can ask a question and not feel like someone's going to say, search the chat or, say something nasty.
Yeah, we're very big on my moderators, are very like me. I'm very picky in particular who I give the power to. And it's because they know what kind of experience that I want to give people and they follow along with that same mentality. So we're a really good team. I give a lot of credit to my moderators. They do almost all the work. Yes, I think that you'll find that we're not like everybody else. We don't have 60,000 posts a day, but we also don't have screaming, yelling, belittling, disrespect, that kind of thing. So it's an information board that's friendly and informative.
Yes, it's fantastic. Well, thank you again. And thanks to all the listeners for joining me again this week. And until next time, I wish you safe and luxurious cruising.